All right, welcome back to another episode of the Farmland Hunter podcast. This is a pretty big episode here today. We have a Pennsylvania State Game Warden here with us. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure, I appreciate you having me. My name is Andy Harvey. I'm the local state game warden here in Somerset County. So initially started my career over in Fayette County. I was there for about 7 years, and then last year I transferred back to Somerset. So
That's cool. So just to get started off here, how did you get started in like the game commission? Was it like a lifelong thing you wanted to do, or?
sure. So I always wanted to get into law enforcement. Didn't know exactly what aspect. It was either be a game warden or a state trooper. So I graduated from Somerset, grew up in Somerset, went to the military after graduating from Somerset there, and spent 4 years in Montana. Obviously got to do a lot of hunting and fishing and stuff out there. Came back, went to Slippery Rock University, got a degree there. While I was going through my senior year, I applied for state police and the game commission, along with some other things, DCNR. But really wanted to be a game warden or a trooper. So it really came down to I made it, like I said, obviously far in both of those. And it really came down to who was going to send me the letter saying, okay, this is your start date in the academy first. I was hoping game commission, it did. I was pretty fortunate having a choice between the two. Be quite honest, there's days where sometimes it'd be nice to be a state trooper, but you know what? I'm pretty fortunate to have a pretty awesome job. You get to do a lot of neat things.
Yep, that's cool. So do you hunt a lot?
I do, yeah. So there's a misconception about just because you're a game warden doesn't mean you want to hunt. I've always heard about if you like to fish, you should be a game warden. If you like to hunt, be a fish warden. I said I can appreciate them on the other side, but I like my job too much. I get to go out quite a bit. I did more spring gobbler hunting this year than pretty much I ever have, and I like to archery hunt, so I'm always out in the fall doing that. Gets to be a little bit tougher whenever we have academy classes going through, so I'm a field training officer, meaning I usually get 2 cadets a year out to kind of show them the ropes. It's part of their training, so that can weigh a little bit more on it, but I still have no issue. I typically get a buck every year with my bow, and like I said, if I'm lucky, a spring gobbler. So
You probably know where all the good spots are too.
hey, my job is like I get to go scout while I work, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah. What are the requirements to be a game warden?
They actually changed them. So whenever I went through, it was just be 21 years old, 2 years of having a hunting license, and have a driver's license. There wasn't really much in the way of requirements. Now they did add a level of college credits in there. I'm not sure exactly what that is, maybe 60 college credits, or some military time, or being a deputy for us for a period of 2 years. So because whenever I went through, there's probably 2,500 to 3,000 applicants whenever I went through for a class of 30 game wardens. So it's extremely competitive, extremely tough to get into.
That's a big ratio.
But now, like I said, we're seeing that number being down a little bit, but they're looking maybe for, I guess, more qualified people by putting some of those restrictions on there.
Is there a need for game wardens in Pennsylvania?
Absolutely. So we have roughly like 120, I think, district officers throughout the state that fields, which in hindsight, I said, looking at it from big pictures, not a lot of game wardens covering a large state. But right now, we currently have an academy class going through. They are going through the process of hiring the next class so this class is going through now would graduate in February 2023. They already have it set up for a class to go in probably March 2023. They'll go through and then graduate 2024. And now they're hiring right now for the class after that. So they look out a couple years in advance just because it's a year-long process to go through, like for the hiring, to figure out who they actually want. And then they cut back our academy. Whenever I went through, it was about 11 months. I think they're down to a little over 9 months now for the academy itself. But
Wow.
if anybody's interested in doing that, applications are open now. Best thing to do is go on the Game Commission's website. There's an employment tab there. They have a pretty decent video about what I said, a little bit about being a game warden, but it tells you all the requirements and everything you need to do. So it is civil service, just like a lot of other state jobs. So you do have to go to the civil service site, take a written test, and then a oral exam.
So does that do those college credits have to be in conservation related, or do they have just as long as you have
Can
60
be in
credits?
anything. Yep, it could be
Cool.
in underwater basket weaving.
Cool.
So.
Cool.
We're just looking for some college experience.
I wonder if land surveying counts. That's cool. That's cool. And so you said yours was 11 months, and they've cut it down to.
They've cut it back. They cut some things out, dealing with like the land management aspect of it.
Okay.
We do have game wardens that are land managers.
What's that?
So they oversee all the food and cover crews. So you look at all the game lands throughout the entire state. We have basically maintenance workers that handle all that. They're basically farmers. They go out,
okay.
they do the planning, tilling, all that kind of stuff, along with the maintenance for general game lands, whether it be the shooting range, the roads, all that kind of stuff. So a game warden predominantly has always oversaw all of that. They may be in charge of 2 or 3 of those crews in different counties.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
That is cool. So what? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So what's your favorite part about the job?
honestly, I don't know. There's a lot of great. I mean, I love the law enforcement aspect of it. Like I said, I always want to be a law enforcement officer, but dealing with the wildlife is pretty cool. Probably one of my favorites. Like I said, I'm sitting there staring at it. I love dealing with bears.
Okay, yeah.
Being in Fayette County, being in Somerset, obviously I have a high bear population.
Yep.
I do a ton of bear programs, so any chance I can. Part of my job is to catch bears, just not necessarily nuisance bears, but just for purpose of collecting data from them. We have to catch 23 a year in Somerset County. So basically what we do there is I set research traps out. Right now I'm trying to catch one over here on Game Lands 50. I had a collared female that got harvested last year. So I have a brand new collar. There's only 2 of them in the entire region, but it's actually a GPS collar, so I'll be able to look at my computer and see where that bear is, which is pretty neat. Makes my life a lot easier whenever it comes denning time and I have to go find her. Normally it was holding an antenna up with a headset like this, and I'd have to listen to a series of beeps, and you'd have to be with an eyesight, and then you'd try to track her down that way. So you could have some long days.
You know what's funny about that? You said about State Game Lands 50 having a sow with a collar. I hunt a lot of ground on the other side of the road from State Game Lands 50.
Okay.
And I had a camera in there, and I had a sow with a collar on it last year with 2 cubs.
Yep. That probably would have been mine. She had...
That's really cool.
Yeah, she denned up 2 years ago. She had cubs. Something happened to the cubs. She had, I believe, 2 there. But bears have cubs every other year.
Yeah.
So the cubs stay with, they go back in den with mom, come back out, they're with them till June, July time frame. Whenever they're ready to be mated again, she kicks them away. They're yearlings at that point. But something happened to her cubs because I was expecting to go into her den and see her and the yearlings. She had cubs again. So if something happens early enough on with a bear, with the cubs, they can kick them back into heat and then be bred again. So
Do the boars go after other females' cubs?
they can.
So that way she can breed again?
Yep, they absolutely can. Yeah, wildlife can be, like I said, pretty distasteful. I mean, a lot of people don't like hearing that kind of stuff.
That's true.
I'm not going to say that it's happening around every corner. Every bear is out there doing that. But if the opportunity presents itself, they absolutely can, because they know if they can kill the cubs, then it can put that sow back into heat. She'll be ready to be bred again then.
Wow. Yeah. I actually heard that dolphins do the same thing. And that's what made me think about the bears,
Yeah.
and if they're having them every other year, because I think a dolphin, it takes like 6 years for them to raise until they'll have another baby dolphin.
Yeah, I don't know too much about dolphins, but
Yeah,
I heard some stuff. They can be, they can do those trapped at. The nice thing is, like, whenever I was leader, I'd get notified if one of my banded birds got shot. So I know the first year I did it, I'd trapped a flock in like Normalville area on a farm, and a 12-year-old girl killed her first turkey. It was a long beard. It was, I think, 6 miles away from where I trapped it at.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that is cool.
That's
that's
like
pretty neat to hear.
when I shot this bear that you were saying about looking at behind, like when we went into the check station, like they have a whole process. Like I've heard before, like when I shot it, I put a stick in its mouth to keep it open because they like pull it. Is it the milk tooth?
Yeah, the milk tooth. So
like when we were in there, they have like a whole process. You know, they pull it up, grab the tooth out, do all that. It's kind of cool to see. And then like you can go over to the map and put where you shot it and everything.
Yep, Somerset's a big deal in Somerset.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people come there. They have the bleachers set up, so they make a trip of it.
We usually go over about at least once every year just to see like what the biggest one was and everything, just see how many were killed.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, there's always some big ones around. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yep.
Especially the southern my district, the southern part of Somerset tends to see the most killed.
Yeah.
But all of Somerset in general is pretty good.
Yeah, I think the biggest one we ever killed, like on any of the farms that we farm, I think it was like 450 pounds,
Okay.
that's a pretty big bear. I mean, this one behind me is only 202,
Yeah.
but a sow, but
That's still, like I said, with sows though, it can depend. It all depends on their genetics. It's not uncommon to see a 200-pound sow. Sometimes that's all the bigger they're gonna get.
oh really?
So,
So that's cool. I
yeah,
didn't
it's
know
not
that.
like, I mean, they can get bigger. We had one. I grew up in Freedence, and we had one that was collared up there. She was collared for years and years, but she was well over 400 pounds. She used to always come up on my parents' deck. She'd be looking in the window at them.
That's
Getting
crazy.
into bird feeders
That
and stuff.
scared me.
But yeah, that's a rarity there. We don't see them that big. The biggest one I ever dealt with was 767 pounds.
Holy smokes!
That was actually the very first bear I ever handled out of our academy. So I was running around Uniontown. I get a call about it about midnight. And the problem is that happens over there, but people start chasing it around. Cops will put on the red and blue lights, turn on sirens, and then it goes up a tree and doesn't want to come down because everyone gathers at the bottom of it. So
That tree, if that bear climbed up in a little tree,
I,
tilt
I
over.
wouldn't be going after a 7-pound bear
700
chasing
yeah,
up a
700.
tree.
yeah, that was like I said, by far my most unique bear story. And I said it was one of those just very first one out of academy. My head was spinning. It was running and got stuck in between two houses because they were so tight together. I mean, it was right in
Yeah.
the city.
Jeez.
So I had to go into this lady's house. I took her screen out of her bedroom window. I leaned out. I was able to dart it there, and it busted out. And then I climbed the first tree available and went up about 30 feet, and I tranquilized it again. Then I said, got woozy. Some ladies yelling at me, wanted me to catch it, and
Yeah, I'm gonna stand under it. I'd been like, you want me to put my arms underneath?
Go
Like,
get
Yep.
your bed sheet. We'll
Yeah,
catch it.
yeah.
I'm sure it was a little sore, but it came down. I said, I don't even have a bear trap, so I just have deer rack on the back of my truck. Took me about 5 troopers, a couple tries. We loaded up on that. I put a bungee cord over it and just went
Just
lights
hope
and
it didn't
sirens
wake
out
up.
town. Yep.
That's funny. That is.
Yeah,
I
it's-
can't even imagine like a 700-pound bear. Like,
That thing
Oh
probably
my
woke up and was like, "What just happened? Was that a dream?"
Absolutely.
I see the bears are the one thing. Like, I archery hunt a good bit. I hate walking into my tree stand in the
Yeah.
dark. Like, I'm just like, everything else doesn't bother me, but when I hear a big stick crack or something, I'm like, please God, don't be a bear. Please God, don't be. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yep, absolutely. Like I said, around here, I mean, you talk to a ton of people that have that same experience. They may be walking in or out of their stand, and here comes a bear walking
That's
down
not
the
what I
same
wanted to
trail.
hear.
I've seen bears when I'm hanging tree stands, and that's just like, that's way too much for me.
Yep.
I've said about it on the podcast before, but last year I was hanging my stand and there was 2 people below me, and it was like it's the beginning of September, and I look up and there's this black thing moving through. It was like 50 yards from us. It stopped, looked at us, and watched us for a couple seconds, and I was like halfway up the tree. We were talking the entire time, and then just kept walking. I'm like, oh man, this isn't this isn't good. But I got pictures of them under my stand and stuff, and then they ended up moving off. But yeah, I'm the same way. I'm always
Sure.
like on edge walking in. Like they probably don't mess with you at all, right?
No, they don't. A bear attack in Pennsylvania is extremely rare.
Yeah.
Usually, if that occurs, it's dealing with a sow with cubs, somebody getting in between them, something like that. But it's normally you make yourself known out there. Bears coming towards you. Their eyesight's not very good. They depend on their nose. Their hearing's okay. So you make yourself known, make noise. Usually, they're gonna want to get out of there as quick as possible. They always teach you whenever you're younger, if you get attacked by a bear, play dead. That only pertains to grizzlies, because grizzlies can't attack you just for the fun of it. Black bears, if they attack you, it's for a reason. So you fight back at all costs, poke them in the eyes, throw rocks, do whatever you have to. Don't fight fair. But like I say, it's very, very rare.
Yeah.
I think the last one, there was one a couple of years ago, but it was because a dog ran out. The bear grabbed the dog, and the lady went out and tried to grab the dog, and then the bear latched onto her.
Yikes.
But it was a sow with cubs, which is normally what we see. A bear going after a dog is not all that uncommon. Most times it's just that surprise factor. Somebody lets the dog out back to go to the bathroom. There's a bear at the feeder and gets in between her and the cubs. And
I actually just saw a video of that. It was like they had like a side yard. These people, I don't know where it was, and it had like a fence, and all of a sudden you saw the dog barking, taking off, and then this black bear running it down. And the guy comes out of the house and like runs after the bear and starts yelling at it and like chases it off.
That wouldn't be me. I'd be
No.
like, screw the dog. I'm staying in the house. That's me.
We can get a new dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not the ideal situation, but like I said, that stuff can happen. So
Yeah.
just something to keep in mind, especially whenever people do have, like I said, food sources out, like at bird feeders. If you know you have bears in the area, so just take the extra precaution, put a light out there, make sure there's nothing there before you let the dog out.
Funny story. The first time I ever saw a bear in the wild, I was taking my zero turn off the trailer, and I look up, and like our driveway is probably like from us to the trucks out there away.
Okay.
And I'm just sitting on the back, and all of a sudden there's like this black bear walking up my driveway, and I like watch it, and I'm looking, and it walks like 20 yards from my house, and I was like, hey, and I like walk up to it, and I got probably like 10 yards from it. It was a young bear,
Sure.
and it just turned around and walked right down the woods, and then it just slowly walked up the road, and we never got pictures of him on camera or anything. And it was just crazy. And then I was gonna let it go because my mom works from home and she was on the back porch, and it was heading right up through there. But we were worried because like we have farm animals and stuff, and we didn't know like if he'd get into the barn or
Sure.
anything like that. Is that common? Like, how often do you have whether it be coyotes or any predators get into people's livestock? I mean, other than like, you have like raccoons and possums getting into like chicken coops, like that stuff, but like
Sure.
messing with big livestock.
Yeah, so especially pertaining to bears, I mean, usually you get at least one call every year. I've had everything getting into like pet rabbits that are out. They can't obviously get into chicken coops and stuff like that. A lot of times there's a misidentification. People don't realize that, I said even rats and weasels and different things like that will go after chickens. Fishers tend to always get the blame no matter where you're at. Everybody blames everything on a fisher just because they know they can't eat chickens. But I have had bears go after goats. Said not so much like a full-size cow, maybe a calf or something like that. Coyotes can, certainly, especially the smaller livestock. But yeah, part of our job is, like you said, we get a call about that. I'll go out and try to identify what killed it. If it was a bear, like I said, we'll try to bring a trap out. I had interesting one with that was, I think 2 years ago over around the Mount Pleasant area. These family had two pretty large goats as pets, and a bear came in and got one of them. And I was actually on the way up there, and the wife went back to look at her dead goat, and the bear had come back that evening, and she didn't know. She walked up on it, and bear was back there. She freaked out. It just wasn't a good situation in general. But but yeah, I mean, I've had people try to claim they shot bears in self-defense and stuff like that. So we get every once in a while a call about that.
What are the rules for that?
Well, if you legitimately feel that your life is in danger, somebody else's life is in danger, you obviously have the right to protect yourself. So, just saying, the last one I had was not the case that it was a person in a trailer just had garbage everywhere, just food wrappers and stuff. They had a barbecue like a week prior. They didn't clean anything up. So the bears, like they knew a bear was coming in, getting into the garbage. And they saw it out there. He took a 22 out and just shot it in the head because he said it was charging at him. Well, so whenever that happens, we go out and do an investigation. I was able to pretty easy identify that's not what happened. He only, like I said, received a citation for illegally harvesting a bear, lost his hunting license for some time. But there has been cases where it has been legitimate. Tend to see a little bit more maybe with a sick bear, mange or something like that. Tend to be a little bit more aggressive because they're gotta hang around looking for an easy food source, something like that. So have them try to get into a house or something like that. So that's usually whenever that comes into play.
Yeah. What are the rules for protecting, if there are any, your livestock? Like if any animal comes in and like goes after your chickens or your livestock or anything like that?
Yeah, so per law, it's kind of tough going down that road because it doesn't exactly outline, like we'll say you even have a dog out there. Technically, you're not allowed to shoot a bear that's attacking your dog. It's not a person. Now, I said, obviously I didn't write the law, and I can appreciate that if I saw a bear attacking my dog, I wouldn't be real thrilled about seeing that.
Right.
So, I mean, you obviously you do what you have to do.
There's some gray areas. Probably they don't write them out specific for every situation.
Yeah. So the nice thing about, like I said, being game warden, I mean, I cover, I said, 300 to 400 square miles. I'm the officer for that area, so we have a lot of leniency to, like, from our supervisors to, I can handle stuff how I see fit. Like I said, within reason.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, but I mean, there's occasions like that where, like I said, you just have to sit back and actually look at what's actually going on, the intent and different things like that. So it's not, like I said, it's really not often that I'd ever have like a farmer say, hey, I shot a bear because I saw it attacking my goat or something like that. Normally it's okay, we see signs of a bear, I'm able to bring that bear trap out, we're going to try to relocate that bear. If matter of hazing it or something like that. If I had to haze one that I caught in Castleman earlier this year, caught it getting in beehives, released it over in Fayette County, came back, I trapped it 5 days later, get in beehives at Castleman again, so I took it over.
How far is that apart?
That was, I mean, as the crow flies, it's not terribly far. I mean, it's quite a few miles, plus the Yawk River in between that it has to cross.
Wow.
But the issue with bears is our capture and like relocation programs not to solve everybody's problem. It's to give individuals an opportunity to correct whatever needs fixed. So if it's beehives, maybe it's put on an electric fence, different things like that. We pretty much have to take a bear over 100 miles away for it not to come back, which just isn't feasible.
How do they know? Like, okay, say you trap one right here at our farm today. This bear's never been to New Baltimore, okay? You take it to New Baltimore, drop it off. How does it know to get back to here?
Oh, they have a great sense of direction. Like I said, I don't know what goes on inside their head like I said, no, but they have a fantastic sense of direction.
I've heard that before, like about like taking bears far away and they've made their way back, and it just blows my mind, like how, like, they're asleep when you take them, right? Like when you put them are they asleep?
Typically, yeah. So
it's not like
release them and then they're gonna wake up.
It's not like they're like, okay, we made 3 right turns, a left turn.
Yeah.
So how do they that just boggles my mind how they can.
That just like probably most wildlife, how they can get back to. Like I said, you have birds that I said even migrate that can come back to the same location. They're traveling to different states and areas. Something I certainly can't explain, but it is impressive. We had. I remember there's an urban bear study where we put Penn State put a collar on a male bear up around Johnstown area. So normally we don't collar male bears, just sows, but they were able to track this, and you get a dot on a map for every day that it goes. So during the June-July time frame, which is our mating season, that bear came down towards Somerset, went across the turnpike, followed the turnpike all the way out to I-79, went all the way up to Slippery Rock area, turned around, came back down just north of Pittsburgh and back across the turnpike to Cambria County again over a 2-month period.
Jeez.
So that's covering a large distance. Obviously, I would say that's probably not the most common. I mean, certainly males will travel further than the females will, especially in that time frame, but that's covering a large distance, especially to end back up at the same place where he started at.
So if you have a bear problem, will the bear most likely move on, or do they tend to stay in the area? Like, typically, what's a black bear's range?
Like I said, the range it's going to vary on food sources. So if you have an issue, we'll say it is bird feeders and garbage, because that's 90% of the calls that I get regarding bears. My job is not necessarily to try to fix every problem for people. I have to try to teach people how to live with the wildlife. So we live in Somerset here. We have bears.
Yeah.
If I remove one, that's not going to solve your problem. There could be another one just moves in and does the same thing. So typically whenever it comes to that, it's just the education portion of it, taking in your bird feeders until it's gone, not putting garbage out until the morning goes. You can use different like I said, different things. Ammonia and a water balloon with some peanut butter rubbed on the outside of it goes a long way. Bear will bite down on it, gets in their mouth, really overwhelms their senses. That's a very good deterrent. But
some smelling salts.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's really what it comes down to. For the ones where maybe they're causing property damage, crop damage, stuff like that, where we relocate them, like I said, we will try to take them. If I catch it in wherever Confluence, I'm probably going to take it over towards Wellersburg. I just try to take them far opposite side of my district, or maybe even across county up north or something like that. Just being reasonable. But we have some other things. We have firecracker shells, our shotguns. The one I was talking about, the last one I caught in Castleman, I shot it in the rear end as I released it with some rubber buckshot. So just helped for it to relate, hey, got caught here twice now. got pain last time. So, because I mean, the second time I'm able to read the ear tags I put in from the first time, know it's the same bear. That's how I knew and how I took it over there. So
Yeah, that's cool. That is cool.
Yeah. I didn't realize that the bear travel that much. I mean, I know they move a lot, but that's a long ways.
Yeah.
sure, yeah. Like I said, I mean, a lot of it depends. Bears have two things on their mind. For 10 months out of the year, it's food for the most part, and then 2 months it's mating. So
Do boars hibernate?
they do. It all depends on the year itself. So it's not like a true hibernation where people think they see a cartoon, a bear walks into a cave right before wintertime, goes to sleep, comes back out in the spring, does a big stretch, and continues on. It's
Yeah.
not really like that. They're awake in the dens. Like whenever we go into a den, the sow's usually sitting there looking at us, which can be a little unnerving because you're getting up close and personal with
How
them.
close do you get down in with them?
Usually, I will say I'm not the one that's crawling in the hole.
Is that the legislator?
No, it's a low man on the totem pole. We make do that. I mean, I've held people by the legs that, like I said, lower them in there because a bear will hibernate in all kinds of crazy places. Probably the most typical we find is just like a fallen down tree or something like that. They may dig out just a small hole, just get a little bit of cover. Female is going to look for a lot more cover than a male because they either have yearlings or especially cubs to try to protect. But a male, even if they do, like if they hibernate, it could just be they may just lay down in the middle of the woods. Complete 360 view around them. We call it like a bird's nest. They may just pull some stuff in and just, if you come across, you see what looks like a big bird's nest just laying on the floor of the woods. I said that could be very well what it is.
The other day I was checking cameras and I saw like it was like a pine area and there was big piles of pine cones and pine needles. Like like everything was cleaned up off the floor into these piles. Do you know what that would be?
Not so much. I think I see them before. It could be porcupine. I wouldn't think a bear would have much to do with that.
Yeah.
I know porcupines can do some stuff like that. Usually the easiest thing is try to look for some scat around if something's like that. But yeah, I can't tell you exactly what that would be.
That's cool. So kind of switching gears here. You said about bears like being sick and stuff with like mange and everything. Kind of made me think of, like CWD. That's a big topic like right now in the state. Like, what have you seen with it like so far in Somerset County wise?
Sure. That's obviously a very big issue right here. So people around Somerset have been hearing about this for years. Like I said, it affects everybody. So in terms of actually having positives, we have had a couple in Somerset. Our numbers have been very low, which is obviously a good thing.
Yeah.
And I would account some of that. I mean, that was we held town hall meetings about that kind of stuff.
We went to one just to see like what it was about.
Yeah, did you go up was it the one in Berlin?
Yeah, at the Borough Building.
Yep. I was up there for that one.
Yep.
And like I said, people take things differently. It can be a burden on some people. I hunt. I have a cabin out on White Horse Mountain. That's where I do pretty much 99% of my hunting at. And if I shoot a deer out there, I can't bring it back to my house because I live half a mile on the west side of 219. So it's just something, like I said, we have to kind of work around and deal with. And I think most people we've gone through it enough now where we have plans in place. People know what processors they can take them to, where they can come up without bringing those high risk parts back. But I count all that to, like I said, one reason we haven't seen a high number of, like I said, the prevalency is still low in Somerset County. So Bedford is obviously one of the bigger areas.
Yep.
I know we had, I think, 2 positives in Allegheny Township, which is out there around that New Baltimore area over the years. I think one was last year. But like I said, actually getting out this side, we haven't had any. So normally what they do, if a new positive comes up, they do a 5-mile radius around it, and then they look for major roadways. So if that radius goes outside of a current DMA, then we have to extend the DMA. So the next, we use major roadways just so people can understand. People don't know township line or anything like that. So we use 219, Route 30. So really, at this point, if it had to move further west, I don't even know where it would go. It'd probably have to go over a pretty good chunk.
Just so people know, what are the boundaries now?
Right now it is, so inside DMA 2 we'll use 219. So starting down the Maryland line, everything coming up 219, everything on the east side is considered inside DMA 2. On the outside, which I said to the left or the west, is you're free and clear there. So it goes all the way up to Route 30, and I said outside Jennerstown there. And then from Route 30 goes over towards Ligonier. Everything north of Route 30 is in a DMA as well. So pretty much the northern part of the county and the whole eastern side of the county is inside DMA too.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I knew that before, but just for like people that like don't.
I
know
don't
exactly.
think a lot of people actually know their boundaries.
Sure. I think people are getting a hang of it a lot
Yes.
more. I'm seeing less because it's a violation if you bring any high-risk parts out, which is
Yeah.
going to include your head, spine, lymph nodes, stuff like that. You bring it inside DMA to outside DMA, that's a violation that we do
Yeah.
take pretty serious. It applies for out-of-state too. So you go down to Maryland, you go down to West Virginia to hunt, and you bring a deer up back into Pennsylvania from one of those states, you're gonna, I said, be facing a violation there as well. So they do. I mean, I get that's one thing. Like I said, guidance wise, I mean, they do take pretty serious because we've seen in other states how the prevalency of CWD amongst the population is really high, and pardon me, we're still pretty fortunate that it's pretty low for Pennsylvania, especially in DMA2 on our side of it here.
What's the process when you harvest a deer in the DMA?
So you can do, like I said, whatever you want with it. You don't have to get tested or anything like that. So just like any other deer harvest, obviously you tag it, you report it. If you want to bring it outside DMA, it either has to be to an approved processor that's outside the DMA through the Game Commission, or like what I do is I just butcher it at my cabin. So I made a pole, I hang it. I said I'll quarter it up. I'll dispose of high risk parts, and then maybe I'll stick the quarters in the beer fridge and go back in a couple of days and cut it up.
Okay.
Everybody's gonna be a little bit different on how they do that. Like I said, a lot of people may not want to deal with the hassle, so I would like just taking it to a processor.
What are the processors in Somerset County that you can take your deer to? that are
Well,
certified?
set any of them inside the DMA. Outside the DMA, I'm trying to think. Thomas's is a big one,
Yep, I've
which
heard of that.
they'd still be in, I guess, up in Johnstown. But honestly, without going through the
Yeah,
list,
yeah.
because it changes every single year, people can go on to the website and look up approved taxidermists and, like I said, butcher shops.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So,
Yeah. I think like there's like a lot of people haven't heard about like everything about the rules and regulations
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
I mean, I think the first time I really heard about CWD was like, I don't know, that was probably 4 years ago now.
Mhm.
But I think
Sure.
that they had the meeting in there at the Borough Building. I think it was like 4 years ago. Time flies, but there's a lot of people in there. I feel like having meetings like that, it helps with like people getting to know things
absolutely.
and like getting some information out there. And I feel like that's like a good thing on the Game Commission's part is like get out there and talk to people.
Yeah.
That's like a big thing. Like I was talking about like the doe tags, like you can get like 6 doe tags, like if you apply for each one.
Yes.
And like around here, if you see, we see a lot of deer, but like there's not a whole lot of does around here. And like, and then other areas of Somerset County, you have deer. You can look out in the field. There's like 60, 70 deer. It's like, holy smokes. And it's kind of like, well, if our neighbor can buy 6 tags, he shoots all 6 doe, and then there's like hardly any left. And it's just kind of like maybe if like they go around and talk to people, like see if they change like how many tags they elect to like give out and that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, with the doe license, like I said, a little off topic there, but there's a house in the in Harrisburg right now, a bill that's proposed to change the way they do doe license. So instead of sending in pink envelopes, like they want to try to get it to where you can just go and buy your hunting license, get a doe license that way. A lot easier. People don't need to worry about sending checks and pink envelopes and getting stuff back. But in terms of, like I said, the allocation, yeah, you can get six doe licenses a year in PA. If you harvest, say you harvest 2 doe,
Okay.
you report them. That means you're eligible to go get 2 more doe tags. You can hold up to 6, but those are going to be obviously in areas that still have doe tags available. So it could be 2B, which is around Allegheny County. They typically always have doe tags. You have a place to hunt there. But people, I mean, it's almost an unlimited number. Whenever they advertised that, people thought, oh my God, I'm people are going to go out and get 100 doe tags. So it's not like that. You can only maintain 6, but if you harvest one, report it, you're eligible to go get another doe tag if they're available. And honestly, from my experience, I mean, I checked a ton of people last year because last year's the first year that came about having that many. I remember driving past the courthouse there, and the line was out the door for the first 3 hours that they were selling doe tags over the counter. Everybody's going in. I went in to buy my hunting license that afternoon. I think I said my regular hunting license and one doe license, but I knew the treasurer, and I'm talking with her, and she said, yeah, pretty much everybody's getting 6 doe license. And a lot of people I checked had 6, but I can tell you, the majority of them, they're lucky if they shot 1 or 2. It's just human nature. People want all that they can get. If you tell them they can get 6 doe tags, they're going to get 6 doe tags. I think there's very few people out there that actually go through and fill them all. So that's but it's a tough subject. It always has been.
In your opinion, like, do you think that our area with the deer numbers, do you think giving out that many tags is good for the deer population in our area?
So,
you think it?
What's the Game Commission's plan for CWD? I think that would probably shine some light on it. Like, what, from the Game Commission's point of view, how are they looking to handle CWD? Are they trying to prevent it? Are they trying to stop it? Or what's the game plan there?
So I think the main thing is try to better understand CWD. So it's not even just a Pennsylvania thing. This is across the whole country.
Right.
Universities looking into this, how it's spread, all this kind of stuff. So I think we can accept the fact that we are not going to eliminate CWD. Like it's here.
Right.
Our goal is to keep the prevalence of it down. So whenever I say prevalence, we're talking about the number of deer, we'll say per 100, that actually have CWD. So states that have done nothing with it, they may see prevalences of up to 40, 50, 60%. So imagine 40, 50, 60% of your deer population all having CWD. Ideally, we want to keep that down, that number as low as possible. If you can keep it single digits, that's not doing too bad. And that's why all these regulations about the feeding inside DMAs, all that stuff, because we do know it can be passed on through saliva. So you put a salt block out there and have every deer in a 2-mile radius come to lick that, you're just asking for it to be more easily spread between them. Now, we constantly get the question of, okay, well, I have a food plot. How's that any different? Well, that's natural.
Or like a mock scrape, because mock scrapes are also natural.
Yes, and which, like I said, you can't use actual deer urine anymore in those DMAs. But like I said, they'll go up and use the same licking branches. Like, that stuff's naturally going to happen, and you can't stop a deer from being a deer. We can only try to help from our end of it.
And the human presence.
That's the biggest thing is not eliminating it, but we're just trying to slow the spread of it. I mean, if we can contain it, that'd be fantastic.
Right.
So does like helping, like with like, say you give out these tags, like helping keeping the deer numbers not like down, but like smaller, or shooting more deer, does that help like with like keeping the presence down of it?
Yeah, so I think what the plan there is actually to keep the population in these DMAs a little bit lower. That helps slow down the spread. So what people don't see is all these like roadkill deers and stuff like that. The deer are getting picked up by contractors. They take them to the Game Lands 50 building. They take their head off, and we have biologists in there testing all of them.
Yeah, so question about that. Does a officer come out to dispatch an animal, or does someone else come out to dispatch the animal?
A game warden will come out to dispatch an animal. So by law, there's only certain people that can dispatch an injured animal. A regular citizen just can't go out, even though I can appreciate you can identify a deer's been hit that has 2 broken legs. It can only be a game warden, a deputy game warden, a police officer, or a veterinarian. The reason for that is we would just see every time there's a poaching incident, I catch somebody that shoots one at night or in the back of a truck, it was injured. And the sad truth of it is, I mean, that's really why we have to do that. But it's one of those, like I said, it happens. I appreciate a hunter out there. I've had numerous calls where maybe they dispatch an animal, they call me, I can identify what's going on there, and like I said, it's not that big of a deal, but a lot of it's a safety concern too. We'll make sure it's done in a safe manner. at the end of the day, we don't want to see anything suffer. We don't
Yeah,
want a deer
yeah.
laying there for 4 hours
Yeah.
kicking on the side of the road.
Well, the reason why I was asking is because I had called in. I don't know when was that.
That was probably 2 months ago.
Yeah, 2 months ago, out on 160, there was a doe that had been hit, and she'd been recently hit because she was out in the field probably 60 yards, and she would get up and try to run from cars. She just falls straight down.
Okay.
So I called in, and I did not see the deer. It was at 9 o'clock at night. It was I was just getting home, and then she was still there at 10 o'clock. Then 9:30 the next day, and then she was finally gone. So I didn't know like how long, like what the procedure was for like when animals are supposed to be dispatched, or if I just assumed like call the game commission, let them deal with it because I didn't want
Sure.
to go out. And so that's what I was just trying to get more information out about that too, because I think you said about safety reasons too, like. You can't have someone out there with their 30-06 on the side of the road putting a deer down.
Yeah,
you know,
especially,
like
especially at night, not knowing if there's
Yeah.
houses and stuff
Right.
around.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff. But, yeah, I mean, how that works, I mean, a little bit about our job is there is, in Somerset County, there's supposed to be 3 full-time officers. Right now, we currently have 2. And for 2 weeks, like I said, I'm covering it by myself. So in Somerset County, we also have 4 part-time deputies. So deputies are just people that have other jobs. They do it, like I said, they help
Okay.
out whenever they can. But for the most part, in that situation, so a lot of times we'll say 9 o'clock at night on whatever Monday, most of us are probably off duty. So we'll say that happened in my district. We'll say it happened in Myersdale. You'd call in, they'd do what's called give me a call out. So they would say, hey, Andy, we have a injured deer on 219, are you able to take care of it? If I'm home and able to take care of it, I'll throw on a uniform, go down there and take care of that. It's injured animals, that could be a violation in progress, different things like that we get called out for all the time. Maybe I'm not around. I said out of the area, so they'll try to get a hold of another officer, maybe
I
Brian
see.
Witherite in the central district, or it was Ned Kimmel up in the northern district. They're going to give one of them a call, see if somebody can go down to handle it, or next closest on-duty officer. So I've driven across 2 counties to go handle incidents. But like I said, at the end of the day, I mean, we just ask people. We understand every time somebody calls in that issue is the biggest thing on their mind.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. But we have to
Yeah.
understand. I mean, there's
Lots
like I
of
talked
other
about
things.
at a full complement. There may be 120 officers in the state, and a lot of times, I mean, we're not fully staffed. So there's a point in time where I was covering from New Florence, which is up above Ligonier, all the way down to Uniontown. For me, to drive from one side to the other is 2 hours.
Jeez.
I don't have any deputies, so I mean, we try to handle those as quick as possible. And you know what? Sometimes it may be reaching out to state police or something like that. Like, hey, I can't get there.
Right.
Can you go out and take care of this? Which they've done for me for numerous times. But like I said, at the end of the day, we don't want to see anything suffer like that. We
Right.
try to get to them as
Right.
quick as possible. But at the end of the day, I mean, we ask people to understand. I mean, we are a little short staffed, and it's not like a regular police force where, like I said, Somerset may have 30 troopers.
Yeah.
We have 3 officers for the entire county, and whenever something happens in our district, it's up to us to take care of it, whether on duty, off duty. So
Are you guys looking for deputies? Is that something that if a citizen would like to do, that they could reach out? How would they?
absolutely. So I'll revert back to our website again. There's some great information on there. I have one deputy applicant going through the process right now. They're looking to be a full-time game warden. So since they started with the college credits, deputy time or military time, maybe somebody doesn't want to go to the military. Maybe somebody dropped out of college, doesn't have enough credits, just doesn't want to go to college. They can elect to do the deputy process. So a little bit about that. That's pretty much a volunteer basis. You can't do that for a living. You get a stipend for a day. So if you work 8 hours, usually it's about $10 an hour. I get a budget, and I said it's not ideal by any means. Most of the people we are getting some younger individuals doing it. A lot of times it's people that are maybe older, they're maybe retired from a different job, or they're just looking for something to do on the side, and it gets them involved in a lot more. They get to do a lot of the fun stuff. I
Yeah.
get stuck doing paperwork, and they're out there handling violations and different things like that. But it's a great opportunity, especially if you're looking to get your foot in the door with the Game Commission, even if you want to figure out if you want to do this full time
Yeah.
before you fully jump into it. So
Yeah, and I think that's a good opportunity. I mean, obviously the Game Commission gets a lot of criticism, and I think a lot of the problems come from being understaffed, and I think that gives a an opportunity for people to say, okay, well, if it's really a problem, then you can go and volunteer your time to help. I think if we'd all give a little more time
everybody be better
to
off.
the conservation, and I think that would
Sure.
benefit.
Talking
a
about
lot.
conservation, I did like a questionnaire for like people that follow us and stuff on Instagram, to like ask you questions like through us.
Okay.
And one of them was about like the rough grouse population in Pennsylvania. We talked about it a couple times on this podcast before with other guys. They say they can remember like when they were younger in the woods, hearing like a rough grouse in the morning or during the day, and how they got to see so many. And like now, I've never seen a rough grouse in the wild. Like, and I'm in the woods
Yeah, I
like
don't
every
think-
day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's no, there's no covering that. I mean, the grouse population has declined greatly over the past 10, 15 years for sure. A lot of that has to do with habitat.
okay,
Certain diseases gone through really affected grouse. Some of the lower levels. I just actually saw one of our game lands down Myersdale last week. I pulled up and it was just sitting there on a log, but it's one of those where, just like you said, people used to. I mean, I hunted White Horse Mountain. I remember just about every morning walking in my stand in the dark and one of them scaring the crap out of you because you almost step on it and they take off.
Yeah.
And you have to sit there and catch your breath again before you continue on.
Yeah.
But the sad truth of it is, I mean, those days, I'm not saying are completely gone. It's not the same.
yeah,
So we have a rough grouse biologist that looks into a lot of that stuff. They have reached out to some property owners in areas where the diseases haven't necessarily taken effect like they have in other areas, where we looked at trying to do on habitat improvement, different things like that, where the Game Commission is working with private landowners to try to benefit grouse to bring them back in these certain locations. And I mean, I know there are still spots where there are some grouse around. Game Lands 51 over in Connellsville has a Casparis mine area. I used to go up there, could pretty regularly see grouse, which was great. But like I said, it's one of those just going to be a work in progress for quite a while,
long time.
unfortunately.
Is West Nile disease, is that the disease that really affects
That's
it?
one that definitely affected them.
So talking about like diseases and stuff, is there like, so obviously universities and stuff play a huge part in trying to figure out stuff. Like, is there any way to figure out like through DNA testing and that kind of stuff to figure out something that can be put into a bird in the captive that whenever it's out in the wild and breeds and stuff, is there any like thing going on like research that way? Like you could release one, they breed, they're resistant to West Nile, they go out into the wild, they start breeding with whatever wild population is still left out there. Is there anything?
I don't know if they're on the edge of figuring that out or not. I guarantee somebody's definitely looking at that because they're always, I mean, there's Penn State's a big one. You have all these universities, University of Michigan. A lot of these get actively involved in all kinds of wildlife issues, or it's CWD, West Nile. So I can honestly say from my end of it, just as a district game warden, I don't necessarily hear about all the updates with that.
Yeah.
That's one job. I mean, the Game Commission, a lot of people obviously always think of game wardens whenever you think of the Game Commission. There are a ton of other people
Like
that actually work
hierarchies
for us.
up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have biologists, talked about the food and cover crew,
Yep.
all those people. But that would be something our biologists would be working with them on. So not change the subject, but just remind me, I just took some barn owls actually just up the road here last week that were on a drag line, so they nested on there. And then yesterday we had them in a silo, relocate them, I put up a box, put them there, but we're taking DNA samples for them. She's submitting that to a university that they're doing a study, something about barn owls. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I said, every once in a while we get told to do that. I may have to take a blood sample from a bear or something like that. But I guarantee at the rough grouse, they always look at, I said, is there something like that where it can be almost bred out of them or they're immune to it?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, they've done stuff where we dropped pellets from aircraft before for rabies vectors and stuff like that to try to curb rabies. That tends to be more around the Pittsburgh area.
Okay.
They'll usually send out notices and different things like that. But
Drop pellets.
that's actually not usually through the Game Commission itself. Like, we're part of that. But a lot of times it could be USDA
Yeah.
or feds or something like that. So
Well, that's nice. So the one guy he works for us, and he's a big like small game hunter and stuff, and he was asking about that. And another one of those questions is about the Sunday hunting, which I wanted to bring up as well. which is a huge topic nowadays. We have 3 Sundays right now, and I didn't know what you've heard. Obviously, like you said, like a lot of legislation and stuff has to be done to go into there, but I didn't know if what you have heard about, like maybe like if they're gonna keep this 3 Sundays, add a couple more, what they're gonna do about it. Like, because I know like right now the deer and bear hunters get the 3 Sundays. I didn't know if like turkey hunters in the spring like get Sundays, like small
Sure.
game hunters and stuff. I didn't know if you've heard anything about the whole Sunday thing.
Yeah, so I always hear from everybody has passion, as I said, about maybe an individual thing with hunting. They always want the extra day for them. So what it comes down to is the Game Commission fully supports Sunday hunting. We had to have a bill passed to allow us to make 3 Sundays open to hunting. And that's where it currently stands right now. So the last bill that was presented and passed says, okay, the Game Commission can set 3 days. I don't see them changing those 3 days from the archery, then the bear, and then the rifle deer season, most likely. But I know they're certainly pushing to expand that, but that has to be through legislation. So it has to go through the House and the Senate.
See, in my opinion, it should be up to the state game wardens and you guys have to go through the whole process to get it through legislation and have people that might not even hunt vote on it and stuff, which is, I mean, you have to have from both sides. That's always good. You can't have one-sided things, but you guys deal with it every day. And I feel like the game warden should have full control. I'm in support of the Sunday hunting. I have nothing against it. I know a lot of people have like the religious factor, which that's fine. But you don't have to hunt on Sunday if you don't want to. That's the thing. But I have no problem with it at all.
How far out, if at all, do you think Sunday hunting, like other states, are in effect here?
I don't think you're talking about like the way Pennsylvania looks at other states.
No. Like Maryland, you can hunt an archery season every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can. It's just part of like Sunday hunting is just normal. At any point will there be every Sunday in archery season you can hunt?
Like I said, if a bill gets passed, so that's the issue. It's not the game, and that's where people tend to get mixed up at. Like, I heard that a million times. So I go sit at the fair, and everyone's coming up like, "When are you gonna let us hunt on Sundays?" And I mean, like I said, we tell them like we legitimately support it.
Yeah.
But that's the issue. So if you look at Pennsylvania, even bigger picture, so the issue is you can't go buy a car on Sundays, you can't go buy liquor on Sundays. All that kind of stuff. It's the same general laws that all came into play at that certain time. So I honestly think for the most part people are for Sunday hunting. The biggest issue the biggest complaint I get is actually the moving the rifle opener to Saturday. And that goes back to it's typically the reason we did it is just providing more opportunity. Never would have thought you'd hear so much complaints about giving people an extra 2 days to hunt in rifle season.
And it's because of it was like a big tradition. That's what I've always heard. I have no problem with it at all. That's the big thing. You're like, oh, it was always like Sunday night at deer camp and then Monday morning. That's how it always. That's what you probably hear it a lot.
That used to be me. So I grew up right over the hill. I'd go out. We'd go out to the cabin on Friday night and spend Saturday out there, Sunday out there, and then Monday would be your opener. And like I told them, even my dad, he yells at me all the time. He wants it back to Monday. But I told him, I said, you know what, you guys can continue as business as normal and have Monday be your opener.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's stopping you from doing that, and that's what they elected to do. So. But there's a lot of different opinions. I know up north it deals with some of the stores and stuff like that, saying there's a decline in their business because you'd have hunters coming in, and now because it's backed up against Thanksgiving, maybe people don't want to go to camp because they have to leave Friday instead of. So there's, anything the Game Commission ever does, there's always going to be at least 2 sides to it. So even the deer population, we can go out here right now and talk to farmers in the area that will come up and tell me there's way too many deer, they're eating all my crops, but then every hunter wants deer around every tree. So our job is try to find that median.
Yeah, that's kind of, I look at it from both sides because we have a farm obviously, and I can remember when I was younger going around and seeing a lot of deer in the fields, a lot of deer. Before they put 219 in, there was really big fields up there that we had, and there was deer in there every night. You'd see like 100 and some deer across that, like, I don't know, it was like 100 acres.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And there was a lot of deer damage back then too. The back of fields would be totally gone. But,
Absolutely.
And now, like right now, I'm looking at it from the hunting standpoint too. Like I don't want to see like deer behind every tree. Like, I'm not saying that'd be bad for our crops, but I do see there is like a less number than there is then.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a general knowledge that the population itself is down. I think we're seeing better quality deer though. The size of your deer are better, not just in body size, but obviously the antlers. So
is that education or is that management of the herd?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with management. Like I said, because especially whenever they go years back, talk about antler restrictions, and then talking about more of a better ratio of buck to doe. A lot of people they couldn't get behind that. They think, okay, the more does there are, that means there'll be bred more deer is better. And then you have deer, I said, going after the same food. But I think, like I said, over the past, quite a few years, just deer in general. The herd is certainly healthier, bigger deer, better quality deer than 20 years ago. I walk through my cabin and you see spikes and 4 points and 6 points. And you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. They were all happy as could be to shoot them. But I said, now it's nothing to, you can hold out, and a lot of times if you put your time in, do a little bit of homework, a little bit of scouting, you're going to normally get a crack at a decent sized deer.
Yeah, and, I can't complain about that. I can agree with that. I shot a 130-inch 8-point last year with my bow for the first time, and there's a lot bigger deer than that too. Mm-hmm. And I like to hold out for bigger deer, and you can definitely tell that management side of it does help a little bit.
Yeah, Sean Barron picked up a deer that was killed on Rockdale Road a few years ago.
Okay, yeah.
By the vehicle. I said it scored, I think, around 185.
Wow.
Remember how I said there was like a 190?
Oh, yeah.
I said around 190, which that's pretty close, I guess.
Who's living
it was well. We actually use it. It's not mounted or anything. We take it to a lot of the fairs, the Jubilee,
cool.
stuff like that.
Somebody was crying that day.
Oh,
there was a ton of people were calling in. They wanted to buy it and stuff like that.
Well, that's that one in Berlin that was hit last year by the dairy bar.
Yeah, we were trying to track that person down, whoever took that one.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Like I said, people can obtain stuff like that legally. They can pay per point for antlers.
Oh, okay.
Like you can go,
maybe
say a black bear sit on the road. Somebody can actually buy that. They get permit through us to legally obtain that.
I didn't know that. I knew you could if you shot something I shed hunt. I look for antlers. Like a deadhead, I know you're not allowed to take and stuff. Could you buy them too?
Correct. Yep, I've had people do that. Maybe it's a deer they find dead that they had on trail camera they're going after. They just are attached to it. Yeah, like I said, 8-point, it'd be $80. And it's not, people say they just need to make their money. We make very minimal money off of selling that kind of stuff. It's the purpose of paperwork and making sure things are done legally. Because you can have, the problem is I can't put past people to do things to try to skirt the law, whether it be shoot something, let it rot and decay, and then call us and say, "Oh, it's a deadhead," and I found it. I'm gonna go pick it up and take it. Just obviously, it's a form of poaching, and I said that's honestly what the laws come down to: is a few bad people ruin it for everybody else. So there are states where you can pick up deadheads, but obviously sheds you can pick up. They're naturally dropped. There's no issues with that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew you weren't allowed to take deadheads, but I have a shed right there. That was one of my biggest ones. But yeah, I knew that whole thing. I didn't know if you had to buy if you were allowed to buy those as well.
Yep. Yeah, you get a receipt that we tell you to hold on to. Pretty much what you can't buy unless certain circumstances, but birds of prey, eagles, stuff like that. But I've had people buy fox, fawns, deer, bear, you name it.
I've never thought about it like that, I guess. I don't know.
Have you seen an increase of deer being hit by vehicles?
I wouldn't say an increase. I actually deal with it less now than what I used to, and mainly because of the DMA. So we have game wardens predominantly have always picked up a roadkill deer on any non-state maintained road. So carry deer rack. I may have 2 or 3 deer a day that I have to go pick up that were hit by vehicles, somebody's yard along the road. Now with, like I said, especially half my district being in DMA2, those all go to contractors. So I don't get that volume. I honestly don't have to pick up very many deer at all, which I'm thrilled about.
I'm sure.
Not the highlight of my day by any means.
Especially when it's 90 degrees out.
Oh, we deal
Oh
with some,
yeah, their bellies.
deal
are
with
all
some nasty
big.
ones.
Yeah.
I just had there's a bear that died that was floating in the Yawk Lake last weekend, like over the weekend. It was probably a 350-pound bear, but it was completely bloated. I had to pull it out, try to figure out how it died, and it stunk to high hell. So we had to deal with that kind of stuff.
The
But
highs and the lows of the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. No.
But
Yeah.
in terms of deer, yeah, I wouldn't say I've seen an increase. But
Okay.
you drive around, you see a lot of dead ones. There's no doubt about that. So
Because I know some people say that's one of the theories to why there's less deer now, because of the highways that are in, that maybe more deer are getting hit by vehicles. And,
sure, no, that's a good theory. Obviously, you keep on putting more and more roads through. You're putting more and more chances out there,
Right.
Especially like down here at 219. Since they finished that, it goes all the way through Myersdale. I had a bear. Somebody videoed it running down 219, and the bridge that I said goes over the road right by the high school. Bear, I said, jumped off and went right down in between, landed on the road. Now, I believe it survived. I had to go check that out, but that's just another one where bears looks under a guardrail, doesn't really like to go over it, waits for something solid, which unfortunately is a bridge. But people, I mean, I had to yell at them. They're kind of, it's a neat video. Obviously, they get to see a bear, and a lot of people get to see that, but they're kind of driving right behind it. Well, that's just panicking the bear.
Yeah,
and
Right.
pushing it further. Yeah.
it jumped
Yeah.
off the bridge. So that's obviously not an ideal situation, but we've had deer jump off of bridges.
Yeah, like I think 219, like when they first put that really big bridge in.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 that went off.
Yeah,
at
like
the same
ran straight
time.
off of it at the same time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, they're not bright enough to look to see where they're going.
They can outsmart me, but then they jump off a bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen videos of them like jumping out of parking garages and
Oh, yeah.
stuff, and
Running
it's
through
just
like
wild.
glass windows, like in that hair
Uh-huh.
salon, that video. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
They can get hit by a vehicle going 30 miles an hour, but you make any little bit of noise in your tree stand and they're long gone. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go to somebody's house and they'll have like deer walk through their backyard, and they're so used to them seeing them at their house, like the deer just walk by, and I'll see a deer like 500 yards away, and like I'll pull my car out of the driveway or something, they're like gone. I'm like,
Yeah.
but so like another question like I've had from like the hunting side of it, like with 219 right here, it separates like us from like the other side of the DMA. Do you hear a lot about like, oh well, they can do the stuff on that side of the 219, but I can't do the stuff on this side of 219? Like, you ever hear a lot about that?
Not so much. I mean, I think maybe whenever the whole CWD regulations was first introduced, it was a new thing. I'm sure there was a little bit of heartache over that. Now, I didn't cover the area whenever that took place. I was over in Fayette, but even there, I mean, like I told you, I had to deal with that. Cabin on one side and house on the other. So, I mean, I had to come up with something to figure out, okay, obviously I can't break the law. I can't take a deer across the DMA. That wouldn't look too good.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I think people around here, they adjusted really well to it. In the long run, they understand the purpose of it. It may be an inconvenience, but they understand the necessity to have these regulations. I mean, we dealt people, the feeding ban was probably one of the hardest ones, because you have people that, a lot of them are non-hunters. They just want to see deer in their backyard.
Yeah.
So I've always fed these deer. I'm going to continue to do it. And I said, our job, I mean, we try to warn before you even get to a citation, just for the purpose of educating them. Hey, I know you appreciate you want to see them, but this is the importance of why we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So you said that 40 to 60%. You said a statistic about deer with CWD.
Yeah, that's out in the different
Right,
states.
In certain states, yeah. So I can't even remember off the top of my head which state it was, but there was one that kind of took the backseat approach to management, and they're
Right.
just like, you know what, we're going to let it take its course.
Okay.
And that's where we really saw that spike, where I said 40, 50, 60% of deer population would have CWD.
And what does CWD do to a deer? and then like what are the risks to the deer and then to us if there is any?
Sure. So, I mean, it's going to be lethal in deer. CWD takes a period to actually take effect, about a year and a half. So you're not going to see a fawn out there with CWD. Normally what you're going to see if you do see a deer, which can get a ton of different diseases, but they will a lot of times be emaciated. You'll see their backbone, you'll see their hip bones. Their head will be down. They may be drooling. They walk around in circles with the head down. You could walk right up to it. It wouldn't even be aware that you are there. That's whenever it fully set in. They're in a bad way at that point, where the only thing to do is euthanize them. Which I said, unfortunately, there is no really rehabilitation of deer at all other than fawns for certain scenarios. But that's the biggest thing, the biggest lookouts for CWD with deer. So in terms of how it affects people, they've done numerous studies with that. It only affects cervid animals, so animals with hooves. So we haven't seen anything to say it's going to affect people. Saying that, though, we still provide, you may see these dumpsters in certain areas inside the DMA. So we have one down on Game Lands 82, one over here at our Game Lands building on 50.
There's one on 31.
Yep, 31,
State shed,
up at 30. So all those, if you harvest any deer in the DMA, you can take it with tag, throw it in the bin. They'll test it and let you know whether it tests positive or negative. So probably the safe thing to do. I mean, they're doing a pretty good turnaround on those. You're going to find out usually. I know the last I heard the goal was ideally like within a week, which is pretty good looking at the volume that they're actually testing.
Right.
Yeah.
But so what I tell people, if somebody is concerned about it, by all means, get it tested. Wait a week before you eat the meat till you get the results back if it's good to go. If it would come back positive, give us a call and we'll issue you another tag.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but CWD is considered a prion, right?
Yes.
And doesn't it stay in the environment for 15 years?
Yep, it can be a very long time. So that goes back to that like feeding ban. So even if you have a salt block out there, you dump a pile of corn out, just a deer, like I said, maybe salivating in there, it stays in the soil 15, 20 years, and somebody continues to do that, now you're just bringing generations of deer into the same area to continue to get that. And that's one thing that makes it so dangerous is how long it can stay around.
Which is crazy, like to have like something like that be able to survive through every, like we get some pretty cold weather here.
Sure.
You'd think like stuff like that, like in ground, like would be like a massive, like I don't even know how it stays there. It lives. Grows.
Yeah. I actually watched, I don't know, do you watch listen to Joe Rogan at all?
I have on occasion.
Okay.
Yep.
He actually had a wildlife biologist come on and just speak on CWD.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really informative. I don't know the biologist's name. I'm sure we could probably find it. And we'll link it. If you watch it on YouTube, we'll link that down in the bottom. But it was interesting to see, and he has studied CWD for years and years. I mean, that's what he made his whole career of. Now, where did CWD start, though? Like, where's its origin? Where did it come from?
I can't honestly say where ground zero is.
Yeah.
I know, I said we've been pretty fortunate in Pennsylvania for it to be obviously a more, grand scheme of things, more recent issues. I know it was out west, I believe, in, like I said, the 70s and stuff like that. So it's CWD has been around for quite some time. We just haven't had it here. How it got here, I have no idea. But where we were first seeing it as are captive deer. So you have these deer farms all over the place. They're not permitted through the Game Commission. They're not considered wildlife, even though they are deer. It's just it ends up being
like farm animals.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So what people don't realize, a lot of those deer is they get kind of traded around like maybe even used cars. They go from deer farm to deer farm. So you have one, and that's probably my guess how it happened. You have a deer come from out of state, have it, and you can see how it does affect other deer there. So you have a deer like that on these deer farms. They have to euthanize it. They move it out of the pen. There's a lot of things that go through. The Game Commission had to get involved with that. I mean, we've shut these places down that had it. They're not allowed to have deer anymore because they test positive, different things like that. We put a stop to like them sending deer to other farms. But ultimately, I mean, that's what happened. It never fails. You have these and you'll get some escapees, and then that's one way how they get spread out to the wild on the landscape, unfortunately.
It makes sense. And like with livestock, you know, we quarantine them, but you can't quarantine a deer for that, and you can't.
There's nothing to really treat it. There's nothing to.
Right, and you don't know till it's too late,
Correct, yeah, because like I said, they don't show the clinical signs for about a year and a half. So you could have that deer is testing positive the whole time, and like I said, probably not really even realizing it. So.
Right, yeah.
And you could shoot a somewhat healthy. I mean, like obviously they might have the disease inside of them, but like they could have just contracted it. You could shoot it completely healthy. Say you send its head away in one of those boxes, get it back out, test it positive. Well, heck, the deer didn't even look sick.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
you might not even.
That's certainly a possibility.
Yep, that is weird.
It's good that we don't have to worry about that now. The biologist that Joe Rogan had on said that there's only one case where a test rat did contract CWD, and it was basically they put tons of it, injected it straight into the rat or mouse, whatever it was.
Okay.
And it was like an extreme case.
Sure.
That it was just like that animal would never come in contact with that much.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, let's just load it up basically and see, is it gonna get it if we put, as much in it as we can,
Yeah, I actually heard one other thing, like I said, along those lines, and it was dealing with a monkey. So they just fed this monkey nothing but like CWD
Contracted
CWD
and
pellets.
it did. I don't know ultimately how it affected it, but it did, like I said, contract something of that nature. Which obviously a primate like that's going to be more along the lines of us. So there always will be a concern. I never tell anybody. I'm not going to tell you absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's one reason why we try to give everybody the opportunity to get it tested for free. That way you have the peace of mind at least.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
It's always good to get like some knowledge out there. Talking about knowledge too, like not to change the subject or anything, but I wanted to ask you about like what is the normal day of a game warden. So like right now, obviously we're not in the hunting season. Obviously there's probably activities like maybe somebody poaches a deer or something along those lines. But like, what are you doing now? And then like, what is your day like in hunting season?
Sure. So
speaking of mouse, there's just one over.
It's honestly one of the great things about my job is every day is different, and I have absolutely no idea what my day is going to entail. I may have it planned out, but it can all change. So we'll say just between today and yesterday. So yesterday, I had to go up to our regional office for a meeting dealing with some changes that are going to be upcoming from us. I left there, came like Jennerstown area.
Yep.
Had 4 barn owls that were nested, baby barn owls nested in a silo. So we were able to take them out of there. I was able to put up a box. We banded them. We took a DNA sample, weigh them, and do a wing feather measurement on it. I said that's all over my head. That's for the biologist stuff.
Yeah.
But put them in the box I went home. I said I think 45 minutes off to eat dinner, and then I ran into Somerset for a national night out. If you ever heard of that, basically it's a promotion for local law enforcement. So they had a bunch of free pizza for everybody around, us, state police, search and rescue, all your local municipalities, Jennerstown, Myersdale, with police cars there, fire company, different things like that, just a meet and greet. So we had a nice trailer there, our Operation Game Thief trailer, hand out a bunch of trinkets, stuff like that. Then I said, what did I do? Today I had to take the trailer back up to Ligonier. Had to go down to Confluence to look for a meth lab that was being done on some of our cooperative access property.
Okay.
So there's a lot of co-op property is private property that's enrolled through the Game Commission.
Yeah,
They
we
open
have
up
some.
to hunting and trapping. In return, they receive law enforcement from us. So especially in these rural counties like that, even state police for Somerset, they can be few and far between. So Confluence being down there at the far edge, I spent a lot of time down there, just naturally where my job takes me, especially whenever law enforcement and hunting and stuff. But try to look for different things like that, doing investigations, been working on that for a little bit, and then came up, spoke with an individual about some bats in her house and what she can do to keep them out of there, and then came straight here. So, but I could
Doing
go
a
out.
podcast.
Yeah, I do.
Actually, I had to tell her, I'm like, hey, I kind of need to go. I was like, I'm supposed to be on a podcast. She's like, well, go be on your podcast. So,
That's quite a difference of events, from a meeting to looking for a meth lab to getting on a podcast.
Honestly, that's pretty typical though. And it's like hunting season, so obviously I try to base my shifts. I'm pretty lucky, and we have a lot of leniency. I get to make my own schedule for the most part. I get to pick my days off.
Okay.
So maybe I want to start at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Well, you know what? Maybe I just don't feel like rolling out of bed. And I call them up and say, you know what, I'm going to start at noon today. Like, I have the ability to do that, which is very nice. So, like, my district is my district. I run it how I see fit.
Okay.
As long as we're getting paperwork done on time and all that kind of stuff, they pretty much leave you alone if you're doing your job, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
Like, hunting season, so obviously spring gobbler season. So I'm going to usually start my day out pretty early, 5, 6 o'clock. Go out and do patrol. May take a little bit of time off, go home, go off duty, come back out if I have other stuff to do. But it can vary. I mean, I can go from picking up a dead deer to maybe a hunting-related shooting incident. Someone gets shot, can be fatal. I've had fatal shootings before. That's what kind of separates us from a lot of the other police departments. So I compare ourselves to the state police just because they're another state entity. But a state trooper, say they have a homicide, they call somebody to come in and collect forensics. They call in detectives to do that. As game wardens, I mean, we do all that ourselves.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, that's if like I had every hunting related shooting incident I haven't had any, knock on wood, lately. I probably had five or six though. Some of them involved. I had one kid shoot his buddy that was calling for him in spring gobbler season in the face from 22 yards away, the 12 gauge. Turkey landed in between them, and he just got the blinders on and missed the turkey and hit the caller. Now that's kind of on both ends because the other guy saw this occurring and didn't want to spook the turkey, so he didn't say anything.
That's bad.
Yep. I had some of the bad ones whenever I was on field training. I had to go to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh, and I was there for a father that shot her daughter in the leg with a maybe a 30-30. And like I said, puts a big hole in there. Before I could even leave, I get another call saying, hey, there's a girl coming in from Somerset County down around Myersdale. Her grandfather shot her with a shotgun while she was out pheasant hunting. Pheasant came back through the line. He turned, shot down the line, hit his granddaughter.
Jesus.
So just a matter of one day, I had two of them just like that. And that can be some of the hardest parts of the job because, I mean, you're talking to those individuals and they're the worst place they've been in their entire life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be somebody you know. Somebody does that. I mean, obviously there's a level of regret there, and some people refuse to pick up a gun again. But last year, game land up in northern Somerset had a pheasant hunter shoot a archery hunter was just walking in the woods. So I mean, that stuff does happen. We used to call them accidents.
Yeah.
Hunting related shooting accidents. We don't call them accidents anymore because they're really not. Like, it's preventable.
Yeah, safety. Yeah, you have to. If you're carrying a gun in the woods and that kind of stuff, you got to be safe.
Absolutely. Self-inflicted ones are probably the most. They become the most common ones now.
You see a lot of like crossbow, like.
Yeah,
I was gonna say crossbow. Like those are dangerous. Like there's like those foot things where you like pull the bolt. Like I could see a lot of guys. Like I've heard of people shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I've had people impale themselves with arrows before they're trying to walk or run with a knocked arrow on a compound bow.
Jeez.
We have every year we have people shoot themselves in the foot with a crossbow.
So does the ambulance come out with you, or do you go out first, then the ambulance comes? Or?
Well, it all depends. So I can tell you right now. Usually, you're related in a hunting-related shooting incident. Your first thought's not to call the game warden.
Yeah, it's 911.
It's 911. So sometimes we find out about it after the fact.
Oh, okay.
It could be. I said a lot of times if I get to the scene, the person's already in the hospital. My first stop may be the hospital.
Yeah.
Then I have to backtrack and kind of go to the scene, go with somebody, maybe the not the victim, but maybe the offender, the person that shot him, something like that. Try to do our investigation from there. But I mean, we do all our own forensics collection. I don't call anybody to go do interviews for me. I almost feel like, I mean, we almost have to be like the jack of all trades. So we talk to people about their nuisance wildlife issues. Like I said, just like how to keep bats out of your house, to what we're going to do about crop damage, to the sick raccoon that's running around the house, to, like I said, there's hunting related shooting incidents, to drugs, to whatever. I mean, that's why, I mean, our trucks are kind of our mobile command center. We have to have everything in there ready to go for literally anything. So
yeah, I don't think, people really realize. I mean, I think when people think of the game commission, they don't think about you having to go out and deal with all the different stuff. And I mean, that would just be. I don't really think about the hunting related incidents.
Yeah, and like people don't also like the game where like, oh, they're just trying to pinch you about this. Like right now we're talking the one on our podcast. Like that's you gotta do everything legal, talk to them, get to know everybody, do everything the best that you can. I just want to there's a reason we're doing this, like show people what you guys do, and like not like I feel like you guys do get a bad rap about like pinching people about stuff. I think that's true. I think you guys
absolutely
do. And I have no problem with Game Wars. I've talked to Witherite. He was there actually the day I shot my bear.
Okay.
Yeah, he was coming up the road and we were there getting a picture with it and everything. And he stopped in and everything. As long as you're doing everything safe and legal. There's nothing, you shouldn't have to worry about anything.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, we understand, like I said, mistakes can be made. Some of the minor stuff, use that as, like I said, educational purposes. Some people may not understand why they may be getting a citation for something where they don't feel that it's all that important, but maybe I do. Usually if it is especially safety related, that's going to be one of my biggest ones, just because they don't know everything that has gone on. I've seen somebody shot because maybe they weren't wearing their orange and they were misidentified for something else.
Yep.
People I just forgot my orange hat. It's not a big deal. Well, like I said, could be in a worst case scenario. So $100 citation is a lot better than a trip to the emergency room
or dead.
Worse.
Yeah. Talking about like the shooting related incidents, have you ever been in like the situation of like, I'm not sure, are you guys like allowed to like knock on people's doors, like say there's somebody that you know has been poaching, or you guys are like, I don't know, you guys call it like a warrant, or like go to their house, like knock on the door, like if they don't come out, like bust the door open? Are you guys allowed to do that kind of stuff?
I mean, I always hear about the misconception of game wardens have more power than the state police.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Like I said, that's exactly what it is, a misconception. We don't have any more power than the state police. Everybody still has their constitutional rights. I can't just open up your door and walk into your house to look in your freezer to see if there's deer meat in there. Some people believe that, but that's not the case. So we handle everything just like a regular investigation. If I suspect somebody poaching, I'm going to go, whether they're at home, I'm going to knock on the door, have a interview with them, depending on what kind of evidence I have. That may include getting a warrant, coming back with a search warrant, going through a house, going through freezers, tree stands, property, trail cameras, all that kind of stuff. And then, we do arrest warrants too. So we have people that are cited. A lot of people we deal with, they may have an arrest warrant while you're out in the field. So that's another thing. I don't have a cruiser. You see what I pulled up in a Chevy truck.
Yep.
So whenever I arrest people and take them to jail, they sit right up front with me.
Oh, man.
I handcuff them, I put a seatbelt on them, and off we go.
And bad people still hunt too. It's not like, they're
absolutely
just out doing bad things all the time.
People look at the stuff I wear. Right now I'm wearing body armor. I have all kinds of stuff on me, and that's
never know.
It's not for the wildlife. That's for the people aspect.
Yep.
We have to appreciate that. I typically work 95, if not more percent of the time by myself, and we're out there at night a lot of times, and there is no backup. So I depend on just being able to talk to people, just using common sense. But I've certainly been in some scary situations. I've had people pull guns on me. Like I said, never fortunately had to use it or anything like that. But whether it's drugs and poaching, I've been in numerous pursuits. Just last year I was in 2 foot pursuits. But like I said, never. It's always something different.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Have you ever tased anyone?
I'm not. I'm actually. Oh, I have, but not in that. I'm a taser instructor for the game commission, so I get to tase.
Oh,
I
okay.
get to tase a lot of people.
He wanted
but,
to see if you tase him.
Oh, yeah.
I can get you to sign a form. We might be able to make that happen. Actually, I'm doing training here in a couple weeks. I need a volunteer.
There you
to take that
go.
space.
I take pain pretty well. I can come out.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's the longest 5 seconds of your life.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Ride the lightning.
Yeah.
Can you pull people over for traffic stops?
So obviously, I mean, our vehicles are outfitted with red and blue lights, sirens, just like a regular police vehicle. I'm not going to pull somebody over for running a stop sign or, like I said, something like that. So Title 75 covers the vehicle code. I don't have the power to pull people over for summary offenses. So misdemeanors, felonies. If it's reckless endangerment, DUI, stuff like that, we will enforce.
That's cool.
So we're not going out looking for.
No, you're good.
We can cut it out. we can go through and
We can edit it. We're
Yep.
good.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're like I said, we're not going out there looking for DUIs. We're not looking for, like I said, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it's just gonna happen. Our travels, we come across that people out there doing stuff, whether it's during the day, during at night. I mean, we come across a lot of times they're making poor decisions out there about shooting a deer with the spotlight. There's usually alcohol involved there. So
Have you ever come across
kind of
that?
stuff.
Like
I've had people
in the
shoot
act?
right in front of us.
Wow.
So that's honestly with our job. There's nothing that gets your heart rate going much more than, like I said, somebody shooting a deer in
Yeah.
front of you. So
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know they have a firearm. The firearm's being used. You
Yep.
know.
and that's the majority of people that we deal with have. I mean, you think about you're out in the woods. You have guns, you have knives. That's just something we commonly deal with. I think as game wardens, we tend to handle that a little bit differently than maybe other police officers, just because. Not saying that we're used to it,
But
or
they're out there with that.
correct.
like,
We
already.
understand because we also hunt and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I mean, you're looking at the person necessarily. I mean, judging it off of them. Like I said, we did have a game warden killed not too long ago. Had a spotting or a poaching incident. Pulled him over. Guy had a warrant out, and he, like I said, unfortunately, whenever he's trying to handcuff him, he shot and killed him. So all over because he didn't want to go to jail.
Yeah, that's sad. Like that's the thing with like police officers too. You never know what's like. People get upset about like these incidents with police officers. Do you want to knock on somebody's window that you
Yeah.
have no clue who it is?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't.
And like I said, we work with our police quite a bit.
Yeah.
So state police, they'll call me for different things. I remember last fall, I was sitting at home. It was during, I think it was during hunting season because we had cadets out. But they gave me a call, said, "Hey, we have troopers pinned down in Salisbury." So not knowing anything, get my truck.
That's all you got.
100 miles an hour down 219 and get there. They weren't actually like pinned down, but it was a barricaded individual that was dangerous, and we thought had some people inside that didn't want to be in there.
Yeah.
So basically, like a hostage situation. So I mean, even with all the resources state police have, I went down. Brian Witherite went down. He had a cadet, a game warden that was working with a cadet from Cambria County. Was there. My biggest boss, the regional director for the Southwest region, came over because he was out. At the end of the day, we had more game wardens there than we did troopers for the first probably 2 hours, and we provided security around the whole camper for the entire time. That was from like 10 o'clock at night until I think we got relieved basically at 6 in the morning. Till
They had to call the big guns in.
oh,
Yeah.
CERT team. Yeah, we took the whole door off the camper.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those dangerous situations. So like those guys came in and
Yeah.
did their job.
I guess you never know what you're gonna do. Like I at the farm, like every day is different. But I mean, there's some dangerous things, but it's not like that. Like our days are different. Your guys' days can be completely different and super
Yeah.
dangerous.
Sure, and it can go from being something pretty boring to, like I said, just handling whatever
Zero
roadkill
to-
calls to whatever complaint here. Maybe there's not much going on. I mean, Southern Somerset, my calls are not anywhere close to what they were whenever I covered like part of Westmoreland, Fayette County. More population. Southern Somerset doesn't have bigger population.
Yeah.
A lot of your nuisance complaints, your sick raccoon. Well, I don't get calls about that. That typically gets handled, like I said, by the person
Yeah.
on the farm or wherever
Right.
they're at.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I learned to appreciate that. We have a lot of Amish in Southern Somerset,
Yep.
so that's a different part of my job versus maybe an officer in a different part of the state.
Yeah, in the big
So,
cities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of officers up in the State College area because I travel 99 for school a lot.
Okay.
And it seems like every time I go through between Penn State and Bellefonte, I see like coming my way or going up or down like all the time. I always see an officer, and I'm like, I don't know if maybe there's more up there or
Well,
or
we have a lot of times we have meetings up at state colleges because state
okay.
college is like the middle part of the state. So
Okay.
anything
Headquarters
statewide, our headquarters is in Harrisburg.
Oh, okay.
But like anytime we have meetings where it's like everybody coming in, a lot of times we go to
Makes
state
sense.
college.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where their regional office is up there, but like if you're going to travel around Ligonier, you'd see a ton of game wardens just because everybody in the southwest region, Beaver County, Allegheny, Greene, all the way over here to Somerset, Cambria, we all go to Ligonier as a regional officer, 6 regions in the state. So you go there, like you're guaranteed that you're going to be seeing a game warden passing you at some point in the day.
So you guys are probably a pretty tight knit community then, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we obviously train together. What we do, we try to get involved even outside of work. So we try to organize whatever. We go up to one of the guys' camps up north for golf, maybe for a couple days. We have a lot of times region meetings where we get together for a couple days. You go learn, like I said, get some training on stuff. Then you may go and, like I said, golf or shoot clay pigeons, different things like that. So
that's cool.
Yep.
So how many hours do you personally in the average game warden work a week?
So it all varies. It depends on other calls that are coming in. So it depends on, frankly, the time of year. So I'll say springtime, summer, I may not work as much as I do in the fall. But like I said, in terms of overtime and whatnot, I mean, typically we're going to work 40 hours. So I'm required to work 5 days a week, at least 5 hours a day. I can split that up however I want to. So I work 10 hours, maybe the next day I only work 5 hours. Like I have the ability to change that around. But in the fall, I mean, we have a bank of overtime that we can use. So we want to obviously put ourselves out there whenever we're going to be encountering violations and try to keep an eye on stuff. So
Yeah.
especially with cadets, I get even more overtime because we're trying to get them as much experience as possible. So the way our training school's set up, they go through a couple months of training. They come out in hunting season. They go 3 different officers all over the state for a period of 10 weeks total. They go back to the training school before they graduate, and then they graduate and they get assigned district and they're on their own. So they get a little bit of supervision, but that 10-week period during hunting season is huge. So I try to get them involved as much as possible.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'll work even, I mean, I always work a lot in the fall, but I'm going to work probably even more just to, like I said, for that exposure.
And so is that part of the program or
Like their academy, like
yeah,
the training?
for the academy.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I did the same thing. I started in March, went from March to the first day of archery season. They send me a list saying, okay, first 4 weeks you're going to this officer in this county. The next 3 weeks you're going to a different officer in this county. And then the last one you're doing over here. And it can be all over the state. I actually, I did my first session in Pittsburgh, and then I was out in like Selinsgrove and then around the Harrisburg area for my other 2 sessions.
Yeah, Selinsgrove's not too far from Williamsport. That's where I go to school at.
Okay.
I go to Penn College.
Yep.
That's right down the road.
Yeah, so they look at it as trying to get you exposure to different things. So me being from Somerset, I'm not used to it's a heavy populated area, so that's probably one reason why they're like, okay, he's going to Pittsburgh, which there's a ton of hunting that goes on even in the city.
Yeah,
Is there a lot of
Suburban.
suburban hunting?
Absolutely. Yeah, you get a small patch of woods like we take for granted. I mean, a patch of woods maybe 5 acres. Like I said, you may have that all to yourself. Most likely have that all to yourself. You go out there and have a 2-acre patch, and you may have 10 tree stands in it.
Holy
There's
smokes.
people. There can be people within 30 yards of each other. They don't know each other. They may be facing opposite
Right,
directions, but there's a ton of big deer out there.
Yeah.
And people try to take advantage of me, and they want to try to track that deer to this little patch of woods. Versus,
Right.
But I mean, a lot of it's just hunting right out back of the house. It's little.
Yeah, I find that really interesting because there's a YouTuber called Seek One. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
I have not.
They're from Atlanta, Georgia, and they've really
I think they ramped. I think they were
They
the
have,
pioneers. Like maybe not. I mean, other people suburban hunted before that, obviously. But I think they opened it up to like I didn't know about suburban hunting
Yeah.
until I watched them, and they kill like 180, 200 inch deer like
That's
every
crazy
year.
deer,
Every
yeah.
year.
Biggest thing is access in those
yeah.
areas. Like I said, if you have the place to do it at, you're set.
Yep. Their big thing is they'll go through and they'll knock on an entire neighborhood's doors.
Every morning.
And they just every person they just hit up and they have great
A
success.
lot of people there, yeah, they get, like I said, a lot of the complaints coming from those suburban areas end up being deer eat my flowers, different things like that. And there's not a whole lot for them to do. It can even be with turkeys. Turkeys around Pittsburgh tend to be really aggressive.
I saw a lot of that. Like even on the news,
Yeah.
it gets news like a turkey chasing
Chasing
somebody
the
down.
mailman. Oh yeah, they get used to being fed, then they expect it, and
Yeah.
they become really aggressive.
Yeah.
So
So on a personal note, what you said? Did you have luck this past turkey season hunting?
I did. I ended up getting one towards the very end.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
Cool.
it was tough this year. I had no issues with hearing birds, but I just last year I actually didn't get one. I saw more gobblers and heard more gobblers I know last year than I ever have, and I just get messed up by hens. I'd have one coming in, a hen would come in right in between. I had that happen a couple times this year, but yeah, waited till the very end. I like to get mine early if I can,
Right.
The last 2 years, I've killed one on the first day, and then I always killed the second one towards the end.
but yeah. That's a good way to do it. You
Yeah.
still get all that hunting in,
Yeah.
and like I said, enjoying it. But
I killed my first one in the evening this year, actually, in the second half of the season, obviously.
Yep.
And that was cool. I've never shot a bird in the evening. I've always wanted to try it. It's sweet.
same way, I got mine in the evening
It's
this year.
cool.
First time I ever did. Because I always, I mean, it's to each their own. Like one of my coworkers, Sean Barron, he's a huge turkey hunter. He goes different states and stuff hunting. Me, like I said, I like it. I'm not necessarily like if I'm gonna book my hunting trip of choice, it's probably not gonna be for turkeys. I
Yeah.
might want to go, like I said, for elk or mule deer or something like that. But teacher and he hunts, like I said, all time of the day. I just if I never got mine, like I said, by 8:30 in the morning, I always felt like okay, I'm done.
I do the same thing. Like usually it's in the morning.
Exactly.
Before
Mine's
I'm
first
busy.
thing. I set up. Like I said, you hear them off the roost, calm down. That was always my luck. But yeah, this is the first year I got one in the evening.
Yeah, usually I'm busy like with the farm work, like planting and stuff.
Absolutely.
And there was like it rained, and we had like the afternoon. Like I wasn't busy. And I was like, you know what? I still have a second tag. I wasn't even worried about shooting the second one. I already got my first one. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get out and try it. And I knew this patch of woods there was a lot of gobblers, so I went down there and I started calling, and two lit up, come out into the field, bunch of hens and stuff, and they come right up to me, and I shot the one. That was cool. And then the
That's
sun was
awesome.
starting to set. You know, get cool pictures.
Can't
and
beat
stuff.
that.
Yeah, no.
So
It's
then,
sweet.
did you get a buck last year?
I did. Yep. I got.
You had a good year then.
I did. Yeah. Like I said, that's people think just because you're game warden you don't get
Yeah.
out hunt. I mean, I had cadets last year too. That was, I think I was off a Wednesday night or something like that. I think I ran out after work. Told my dad. I said I tend to hunt the same general area, so deer just. I mean, they never really seem to change up there. And I actually saw a couple bucks that night, but had a nice 8-point come out and present himself and make a good shot.
Nice.
I was
cool.
over with the first day I hunt. That was the first evening I hunt. I got that right at the beginning of the season. So,
That's nice. That
yeah.
makes it nice. Yeah.
Are you a Hoyt or Matthews guy?
I have a Hoyt.
Oh,
I said, I'm not. I think you talked with Scott about this. So
Yeah.
I can't say I'm not huge on bows. The reason I have a Hoyt, honestly, is because I want it. The bow I started off with, I think, whenever I was wait till I was probably 14 or 15 to start archery hunting, but it was probably 30 years old back then. It was just an old compound and hardly any lead off at all, and I killed numerous deer with that. And then whenever I moved to Montana, I bought a bow out there. Nothing special, but I came back and went to one of these bow bashes up around Johnstown, and I said, want a Hoyt? And I was like, well, I might as well just keep this one and use it. So,
Yep.
like I said, I've been pretty fortunate. I haven't had any issues. Like I said, normally it does the job. I don't have to practice too much, but I said whatever I shoot at, I hit
Yeah,
and kill.
yeah.
And
Yeah, that's good. That's the main thing.
that's all I can
Right,
ask
right,
for.
right.
I don't get carried away though, so I see a lot
Yeah.
of people, especially with crossbows, they may be trying to reach out further than what they should.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've been very fortunate. This deer I just shot was the farthest I've ever had to kill one. It was 20 yards.
Oh,
Killed
wow.
the majority of my deer with a bow. I said all bucks within 10 yards.
Well, that's
So,
cool.
That's impressive
That
too.
is-
I mean,
that
it's
is
tough
good.
to get in on a deer like that consistently and get within 10 yards of them, especially like a whitetail buck.
I think I have a little bit of luck though too. Whenever I was younger, I know I said when I first 16, able to hunt by myself. I had 2 years back to back where Dad put me up in a tree. I said I'm gonna use my climber, get up there. I remember the first year I had a deer come in, and it was the first year I ever killed with a bow. But I shot. I think I just like I said, got so nervous, put all my sights on the deer, and he was close. He's 10 yards, shot right over his back. The arrow was stuck into a tree. I could just hear it vibrating. I turned, looked at it, looked up at me for a little while, and then just continued feeding, walked right underneath my tree. And I shot him at 3 yards on a second shot.
Oh my God.
Very next year, very same tree, had a buck come out, and I grazed him right over the back. Did the same thing. I shot high. I grazed him over the back, and he actually walked directly underneath my stand. I looked down where I could see where I actually cut the fur. I said, didn't cut the muscle, just cut the fur, and he did the same exact thing. I shot him like 5 yards from behind. He let me re-knock and shoot. My dad's like, I've hunted for 50 years. I've never had that opportunity.
Yeah,
you
for
did
real.
it
Twice.
Now,
That is crazy.
I think that was kind of beginner's luck because fortunately I never had to do that again.
Yeah,
Like I said,
yeah.
make my shots count after.
Was
you
it
get a
in the
little
same
bit of
tree
experience.
stand?
It was same exact tree I climbed up.
Do you still have the stand in that tree or a stand in that
No,
tree?
I always use a climber. I like my climbers.
I'd
so
be
I can
climbing
jump
up that
around,
tree
but
every time. There's got to be something lucky there.
They cut it down and made a food plot out of it.
Oh, I would have
Okay.
made a table or something out of it. That's lucky. I can't even I swear to God, like there'll be like that old doe, like you'll move your eyes, like I'm like holding like, and I'll move my eyes to like look at something else, and she's like, what? I don't have that kind of luck.
Yeah, I do. I chalk some of that up to certainly luck because I'm not one where I don't go out. I'm not buying this expensive camo and getting the top of the line stuff. I believe in scent control and wind and different things like that.
Yep.
But I can't say it plays a huge part in my game. I mean, I go archery hunting, especially I'll spray down with some kind of cover scent. But I can tell you, I used to always wear pants from my BDUs from the military with some mismatched jacket or whatever, a long sleeve T-shirt, and it never really bothered me. So
As long as you play the wind, I feel like I don't use any sort of scent control at all. I just
Sure.
play the wind. That's all I do.
Yep.
And I've only shot one deer with my bow so far, but even like sitting, like I've had deer walk right beside me all the time and never catch my scent or anything.
I mean, you think about how it used to be done. It was blue jeans, like I said,
Wool-rich coats and stuff.
flannel, smoking a cigarette.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Start a
So-
campfire and sit there and
Yep.
see one walk by and shoot it. Yeah, my pap can remember. He said all those guys, they used to come over and hunt, all the old timers, and they'd have their red Wool-rich suits on, like. And we hunt today. We're full camoed up in a tree, like stealthing around there in full red, just
Absolutely.
walking around.
Yeah. I had one deer 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He was coming in 50 yards, and I had the release in my hand. I had to drop my hand out to get the release. It was an index release in my hand, and he saw that, and he just turned around, took off. And I'm like, "Are you serious? Like how did you even like?" He wasn't even looking my way. That was the thing. I was over here, and he was looking up the trail, and that trail kind of angles this way. But just that slight little movement, that white, must have just instantly triggered him. He didn't like it, and he took off, and he didn't quit running either. I mean, he ran straight up over the hill and off the back. I'm like, oh, man.
Amazing how that works sometimes.
Yeah.
Hunting's fun though. It's the ups and downs that make.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's all the parts where you're frustrated makes the success that much more sweet and stuff.
Yep, that's why it's called hunting and not shooting.
That's
Yep,
right.
that's 100%
Someone asked
true.
me, I had the Farmland Hunter T-shirt on, and they're like, "What do you mean you're called the Farmland Hunter? You didn't? Did you even kill a turkey yet?" I said, "I don't do a lot of killing, but I do a lot of hunting."
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I was killing stuff, I'd be the farmland killer, but I'm not.
Some of the best days in the woods don't involve killing anything.
Exactly.
Yep,
yeah.
I've had more fun days in the woods watching deer and stuff without shooting anything than I have with whenever I did kill stuff. That's the big thing.
I never had the opportunity to shoot really anything on opening day. And I always look at the end of the season and think, like, if I would have shot my buck opening day or even the first week archery season, how much experience and how much knowledge I would have missed out on throughout the entire season and having to work to get to the deer. And, you know, like, the more work you put in, the more it's rewarding. I feel like if you go out on opening day, I mean, yeah, you shoot a buck and you're excited, but I just feel like, you know, there's not as much behind it as when you hunt all season and, you know, you have the hard knocks and, you know, just stuff happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes it bittersweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I mean, I shot one the first morning when I was 12 with a rifle. First time I ever go out.
He
so.
was pretty still. You were probably still happy, huh?
But well, that morning, actually, funny to bring that up because that's kind of one thing that always stuck in my mind too. How I got into this job. So I left my cabin. We're driving, still dark out. I mean, it's first thing in the morning, going over to our hunting spot, and 100 yards from my cabin, I see probably the biggest buck still this day I've ever seen.
Wow.
It just runs right across the road in front of us. So I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Obviously, I've been out there, been around deer, but this is the first day of actually hunting. Just going to your spot. I'm
I
like,
hope I shoot him.
are you
Yeah.
kidding me? This thing is huge. It ended up being like a 13 point, like 23-inch spread. I mean, it was just
Wow.
massive.
That's nuts.
And the reason that stuck with me was because I actually went over, I shot this little basket rack 6-point first thing in the morning with my rifle. I mean, couldn't be happier. But
Yeah.
that deer was later shot down the road out of a camp at 5:30 in the morning with a light off a corn feeder.
Oh my.
So you lose, like I said, the deer doesn't get its respect. All the people that actually put the time in, like I said, got thrown in the back of a truck and taken out of there as quick as possible. So like I said, between that and then once when I was in Montana, I was hunting an area that's archery only. It's kind of like my little hunting hole. I never had anybody there. It's just a small patch of woods in between a river and a field. And it was a great spot. Muleys and whitetail would all come there. I'd take, like I said, a stand go. But there's a younger kid and an uncle that were hunting there one day. I didn't know. I'm just walking back into my stand, and I'm wearing my fluorescent orange. And the kid, I see him. He's probably about 25, 30 yards away. He looks at me. I just saw him raise his rifle, and he shot at me with his 30-30. I hit the deck, and then his uncle saw movement, and he was using a shotgun with slugs, and he shot at me because
Wow.
he thought I was a deer.
Jesus
So
Christ.
that was that. I mean, that's pretty eye opening, and
Yeah.
obviously stuff like that should not happen, whether
all.
you're wearing fluorescent orange or not.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to obviously identify your target. So just stuff like that. I mean, that's a big part of our job too. You get into we run the hunter education
Yep.
class, so teaching about the firearm safety and all that kind of stuff to, like I said, help prevent that. But
Are you guys still doing that in person now? Is that going back in person, or is it still online?
it's both. So
Oh,
the
okay.
online's not going away. People can go online, take their hunter and trapper education class, even if they are 11. That is a requirement. You do have to be 11 years old
Yep.
to take the class, but we still are holding in-person classes. I always tell people, man, it's if you can take it in person, I would suggest
Oh,
doing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
The classes certainly have changed over the years. Whenever I did it, it was at a local sportsman's club, just like they are now, but it was a 2-day class, and I even shot live firearms. Unfortunately, just manpower and even our volunteers that we have to use, the hunter ed instructors, do a fantastic job. We just don't have the manpower to do that.
Yep.
So it's an 8-hour class, 6 to 8 hours. We go cover a lot of that safety stuff, but I was supposed to have one out at Scalton Run Gun Club on Saturday, and I actually had to cancel it because I only got 10 people that registered for the class. So fortunately, we had another one just down the road here off Garrett Shortcut, so I was able to send them there. But I've seen a little bit of a decline in that, and probably because they can do it online.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to the old Berlin VFW.
Yep. Me
Okay.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Then that same summer before I went out that fall deer hunting, I went over to the Maple Leaf Rod and Gun Club for the youth field day.
Okay.
Shot a shotgun at some clay pigeons,
Yeah.
shot a flintlock and that kind of stuff. So that helps. And then I shot my first little buck on opening morning.
Good deal.
That helps get you hooked.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. But
I had to struggle for all of my deer I've ever shot. I was 14 when I shot my first buck with a rifle, and then with a bow. Last year was the first year I got one with a bow, and it took me 4 years with a bow then to finally get one with a bow. But it's all what gets us hooked and keeps us in the woods and
yeah.
Absolutely.
keep going out.
Everybody gets passionate. Like I said, usually about a couple things in particular. Like I said, for me, it's spring auger season. I love archery season. Usually it's a little bit slower for me, easier to get out, but nicer weather.
Yep.
Get more up close and
Yeah.
personal with it. That's the biggest thing. I'm not a huge fan of sitting in a tree stand freezing my butt off.
Yeah. So what do you do in your personal time outside of being a game warden and hunting?
So I think, me and Gerald, but a lot of game wardens, we got in this job because we like the outdoors. So I still go out to the game lands, live close to game lands 50 here in Somerset. So I'll go hike. I do a lot of fishing. I like to trout fish in the spring. like I said, between fishing and golfing, I golf quite a bit. So I like to be outside, getting ready to go up here in a couple weeks to Erie to see if we can get some walleye.
Oh,
so,
nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
should
it's
be
always nice to get away, do something a little bit different. So.
fun. Yeah.
Yep.
What's your handicap?
I'm currently in 11.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not that good, but
They're not that bad.
has come down, so have improved over the
Yeah.
past couple of years.
I'm not a golfer, so what does that mean?
Just like, I don't know. You probably even know better than I do.
The handicap is basically the average number of strokes over par that you would shoot. So
Oh, okay, so you're like 11 over par right now on a 18-hole course.
That's actually
Correct.
that's not bad at all.
way better than I would be. I can tell you
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah.
that's probably one of the most frustrating things I've ever done is golf. So
Yeah.
I play well for a hole, and then it just all goes to hell. So
It's like you have those shots throughout your round that like keep you back. You're like, man, if I could just hit that one just like that every time, you know?
You ever
It's kinda
break the
like
club?
no, I have. I usually can keep my temper pretty good there. But
Happy Gilmore.
every once in a while, you have a good shot, and that keeps you hooked. Like, okay, well, I can hit a decent golf ball.
Then
so
you slice one.
yeah, keep on coming back. So
Well, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah. Golf is really frustrating. It seems like no matter how much, I mean, obviously golfing more, well, you'll get better at it, but it just seems like just to be like, you know, if you work at something long enough, a lot of things you can really be good at it. But golf is just one of those things like you could spend every day golfing and that's your life. And I just feel like you could never get up to what a pro is.
absolutely, I think it's the biggest difference between a pro and an amateur athlete is probably golf. I said
Yeah.
they're unreal what they do. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, golf is crazy. You see them videos like where they like skip it across the water
Uh-huh.
and it curves around and goes in the hole and you're like, they were like 70 yards away. How do they
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't play golf but like once or twice a year. I have no idea, but
Right.
Yep.
What's the best course you've been to, or your most iconic golf trip? Or
I go down to Virginia every year. Bunch of guys from the Somerset area here. We go down there. I'm trying to think what the nicest one would be. Play a couple down there. Oh, for around here, Sunny Hannah was, like I said, a nice golf course. We talked about Old Stonewall. I like that out there.
That was really cool.
That was a pretty good course. But I don't go around. Like I said, I'm not good enough to play all these fancy ones
yeah.
like Laurel Valley, like Laurel and all these kind of
yeah,
places. But
yeah.
Maybe someday. So.
Do you, as a game warden, can you like go check out the Highlands course, like peek around, be like, that's what it looks like, huh?
So we actually do work with golf courses as game warden. So Somerset Country Club, I belong there. We always have a goose problem there. So you have geese that will have crap everywhere. They'll tear up greens and stuff. I dealt with Donegal Highlands Golf Course issue with a fox that kind of tore out a green, made a dent in there over the winter. Beavers that I had beavers that flooded nearby stream was, like I said, flooding up over a hole. So yeah, actually at the golf courses we wouldn't really think about, but we tend to work with them quite a bit on some of their problems.
That's cool.
So
yep. Well, I want to thank you for coming on here today.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Maybe like some people get to hear what you do and get a better understanding for what you guys have. And,
Yeah, I just want to thank you for what you do. We both really
Yeah,
appreciate it, and all the
I appreciate
first
that.
responders and everything like
somebody's
that.
got to keep everyone in check.
Yeah, yeah. And
So.
I hope people get a better respect for what you do and realize that you're not just out picking up raccoons and, you know, you wear multiple hats. And
Absolutely. I always encourage people to come up and talk to us, which most people are pretty good about that, whether I'm at the gas pump or wherever they see me out and about. I mean, it's always nice whenever someone comes up and they may ask for advice like, hey, looking for a place to hunt, like bear hunting especially. I'll tell you exactly where I've been seeing bears. I mean, especially you're dealing with game lands and stuff like that. I mean, who knows the game lands better than game warden and spends a lot of time on
That's
there.
true.
So
Yep.
I want to see people be successful. I love that. That's my favorite thing. It feels not going out and, I mean, it's nice whenever you get somebody that may be doing something, a big poaching incident or something like that. You can finally catch somebody. But I love going out and seeing a successful hunter. I've countless times come across somebody maybe shot a bear, dragging out of the game lands. I'll throw it on the deer rack and take it to the truck for them, help them drag the deer out. So all that stuff is pretty rewarding.
that's really cool. Yeah.
That's nice. Yep.
Well, alrighty. Well, thank you very much.
Yep,
I
thank
really
you.
thank you
Yeah.
coming on, and I will get off here. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yep.
And,
we hope you enjoyed it.
Yep. We'll talk to you later.
Probably 2 hours.